This is He Knows His Sport, bringing you that heat and that fire. All right, y'all. Let's get right into it, man. Hear me and hear me well. Listen, folks. Errol Spence and Deontay Wilder are the cash cows of boxing. Let me say that again. Errol Spence and Deontay Wilder are the cash cows of boxing. Not Canelo, Cinnamon, Alvarez. Let me say it again. Not Canelo, Cinnamon, Alvarez. Here's reason number one. When you have a fight against Sergey Kovalev, a fight that the boxing community fan base, most of them that is, minus the Mexican community fan base, did not want. They wanted you to actually fight Jermall Charlo, Demetrius Andrade, or 168, because these were the two weight classes that you were in. A Caleb Smith of the world, a David Benavidez, or Caleb Plant. You run completely away from these guys. Sergey Derevyanchenko. You run completely away from these guys, and then you run all the way up to 175 to fight a wounded animal, a super paid to lose on steroids, Sergey Kovalev, a guy who was in desperation of money. This guy needed money. This is why he took the fight. He's in dire straits in Russia. Let me say it again. He's in dire straits in Russia. This is the truth of the fact of the matter. Canelo Alvarez and company understood this. So what they did is they ran their rabbit ass over to where Sergey Kovalev was at and said, look, let's make this fight happen. And they also had the intel that Sergey Kovalev was 5 to 6 weeks removed from his fight against Anthony Yarde. These are the truth of the facts of the matters. This is the cold-hearted, unadulterated, cutthroat truth. But when you come in ultimate truth-telling fashion, nobody wants to hear it. But He Knows His Sport always has to address the elephant in the room. Because I keeps the foot on the what? On the necks. I keeps the foot on the what? On the necks. And I'm a Tibetan Mastiff. I apply what? Unlimited pressure. Because pressure does what? It bursts his pipes of these Rudy Poo and these plum brain ultra fanboys with the ultra fanboy rhetoric. You have a bunch of Cinnamon Alvarez fanboys. The biggest variation there is ibuprofen. The biggest Cinnamon Alvarez fanboy. Sitting here propagating this guy left and right, saying that this is the best boxer in boxing, that he is the cash cow. How are you the cash cow when you had to sit there and wait for an MMA fight versus Jorge Masvidal and Nate Diaz to be finished first before you or Sergey Kovalev can fight? How? Does that make any sense to you guys? This is the problem with these brain full of mush and brainwashed dodo heads. This is the problems with these classic dolts and these troglodytes. They don't understand boxing. They're ultra fanboys with the ultra fanboy rhetoric. They come in with reverse bias. When it's a fighter that they like Cinnamon Alvarez, they want to propagate him up and bring him up to the ceiling. But when it's an Errol the Truth Spence or Deontay Wilder, who are truly and dually the cash cows in boxing, they are dually the cash cows. Because let's look at Errol the Truth Spence's last fight against Sean Porter. He had 350K pay-per-view. This is what ultra fanboys with the ultra fanboy rhetoric doesn't understand. In this day and age of the pay-per-view market, when you average 300 plus pay-per-view buys, that's highly successful. Errol the Truth Spence has this back-to-back. His fight against Beat My Face In, aka Human Pinata. Hold up. The one that fought nothing but what? Uber, Lyft, and hold up. Hey, Taxi Tijuana cab driver fighters Mikey Garcia. That was 300K. This fight against Sean Porter, 350K. A billable, marketable. And when I say billable and marketable, I'm talking about billable and marketable welterweight in the welterweight division. Just ask Mike Coppinger. What did Mike Coppinger say? He's a very respectable person in boxing. When it comes to news press releases, when it comes to insiders information, when it comes to pay-per-view numbers, when it comes to basically information that's all associated and related to boxing. Mike Coppinger said in this climate, in this market, when you average 300 or more pay-per-view buys, you are a superstar of epic proportion and epic magnitude. Let me rewind this because it needs to marinate in the corpus callosum and in the cerebellum. Hear me and hear me well. When you have a climate of pay-per-view that averages 300K or more, you are what we call a billable and a marketable superstar. So Errol the Truth Spence is dually a cash cow. Deontay Wilder, his fight against Luis Ortiz, The fight that all of these classic dotes and these troglodytes, Rudy Poo and Plum Brains, ultra fanboys with the ultra fanboy rhetoric that told you nobody's going to watch the fight. But yet it was the #1 fight trending on Twitter. All celebrities came out to watch this fight. Mike Tyson and company. But leave it to these classic dotes and these troglodytes. Leave it to these ultra fanboys with the ultra fanboy rhetoric. Leave it to the Rudy Poo and the Plum Brains to tell you otherwise. You know why? Because they're running off of pandering narratives. Here's the problem with pandering narratives. Pandering narratives only have a ceiling. Let me say it again. Pandering narratives only have a ceiling. When you hit the ceiling, what do you think happens? You come tumbling down to the ground. Let me say it again. When you hit the ceiling, what happens? You come tumbling down to the ground. But when you come with cold-hearted, unadulterated, and cutthroat truth-telling fashion, like he knows the sport, and you keeps the foot on the what? On the necks. And you keeps the foot on the what? On the necks. People can't do nothing but continue to appreciate that. And their bed bugs, they're going to continue to do what they do best. But the true alphas in the building, they're going to continue to salute. You know why? Because we have to address the elephant in the room. Canelo Alvarez is not the cash cow in boxing. He's a boxer that makes money. He doesn't generate money. Because to be a cash cow in boxing, the second reason is you can't just make money. You have to generate money. Let me say it again. You can't just make money. You have to generate money. You're not a money maker. You're a money generator. When you look at Deontay Wilder and Errol Spence, these are not only just money makers. They are money generators. Deontay Wilder betted on himself. He has a whole legion of bed bugs because he has them, because that's the third requirement of being a cash cow. But before we get to the third requirement, we're going to continue to delve on this because I got to rant a little bit. You're going to have the worst bed bugs. Him and Errol Spence have the worst bed bugs. Because if they weren't cash cows, then people wouldn't give them the respect indirectly, not realizing that they're brain full of mush and brainwashed dodo heads to give them the respect that they give them by saying, but he has to fight Terrence Buck Crawford, a la Errol Spence. But he has to fight a Manny Pacquiao. But he has to fight a Canelo Alvarez. They want Errol Spence to fight Canelo Alvarez because remember, they got to get their get back for the beat my face in, aka human pinata, Mikey Garcia. I keeps the foot on the what? On the necks. I keeps the foot on the what? On the necks. We keeping the foot on the damn necks. That's the mode we in right now. Back to the original He Knows the Sport, bringing you that what? That heat and that fire. They want this guy to lose. But what we realize is, and the new IBF and WBC welterweight champion, that's what Errol Spence is. Deontay Wilder has tied Muhammad Ali, one of the greatest boxers in boxing, with an unprecedented 10 title defense. You don't see this stuff happen in boxing. Both him and Errol Spence are both taking on mandatories after mandatories after mandatories. Unification bouts after unification bouts. You know why? Because this is what real and true champions do. They step up to the plate and they deliver. Let me say it again. They stepped up to the plate and they deliver. Canelo Alvarez doesn't do that. He either fights a cherry picker or a wounded animal. That's his truest and his most properest levels. This is why outside of the Mexican community fan base, he does not have respect in the boxing community fan base. Let me say that again. This is why outside of the Mexican community fan base, he does not have respect in the boxing community fan base. Because to have respect, it means you have to do things that garner you respect. Let me say it again. To have respect, you have to do things that garner you respect. That's fighting Jamal Charlo. If he's such a tune-up, fight him. Fighting Demetrius Andrade. If he's such a tune-up, fight him. Fighting a Caleb Smith. If Caleb Smith got supposedly exposed by John Ryder, fight him. A David Benavidez, a Caleb Plant, fight them. Because these are lions in their respective divisions. Arthur Beterbiev, Dimitri Bivol, fight them. Don't fight cherry pickers and don't fight wounded animals. Because when you do that, you get pointed out for what it is. And for people to sit here and compare Cinnamon Alvarez to Floyd Mayweather, who washed, double washed, and triple washed him, it's kind of a moment. Let me say it again. It's a moment. That's what it is at its truest and its most properest levels. And boxing fans need to be honest with themselves. You can't sit here and compare Canelo Alvarez with Errol the Truth Spence and Deontay Bronze Bomber Wilder. It's really that simple, folks. This is He Knows the Sport. Check it out.